Going for boost over. Well, I think going for boost if you're a boost merchant, like someone like AJ or someone, you go for boost.
100% of the time.
Yes.
Always, every second of every game. Ball's going in your net, don't worry about it. Go get the boost and make sure you've got the full 100 to celebrate with the other team.
Oh God. Never. Yeah, never. Always go for ball.
Yeah.
Number one rule of Rocket League.
Welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, where three aggressively average Rocket League players talk about everything RLCS with your hosts, Ace, Code Red Jack, Kyle Cube, and AJ Binky. So, if you've ever wondered when the best time to go for Boost Over Ball is, you've come to the right place.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, thank you so much for tuning in. And for listening, I'm Kyle K-Cube, and I'm joined today by Ace, Code Red Jack. Ace, how's it going?
It's going all right. I'm happy to be back. I think it's been, I don't know, a week or plus since my last podcast appearance.
Yeah.
Been a crazy set of schedules. Sucks being an adult.
Yes,
but,
it does.
You know, we all make sacrifices.
Yeah, but before we jump into the episode, I got a little bit of housekeeping to take care of, some scheduling stuff. So this week will be our NA Spring Invitational preview. We'll take you through, what we think about the Spring Invitational, what we think will happen. We will also take you around the world to talk about, all of the different tournaments and regions that have wrapped up in the meantime. And I am going on vacation next week, so our EU Spring Invitational wrap-up will be posted next week at the normal time, but we will be pre-recording that because I'm out of town. And then the week after that, which would be June 28th, our NA Spring Invitational wrap-up will post. And so after that, we will get back to our regularly scheduled programming. But without further ado, I guess let's just jump right into Around the World.
All right. Well, starting around the world, we are looking at MENA. MENA. We had some good news coming out of MENA. So Rule 1, they beat Twisted Minds 4-1. And as I believe I read correctly, and please correct me if I am wrong, we are going to go see Rule 1 in Boston. And that I'm so excited about. I love the colors and the design, everything to do with Rule 1. And also, it's Sunless's team. So it's exciting to see his team doing well and to see that franchise making a name for themselves. You have any thoughts on that, Kyle?
No, I mean, we kind of predicted maybe a two-team region at the beginning of the split, even after, with Rule 1 and Team Falcons. But I think me and a lot of other people slept on Twisted Minds. Twisted Minds made, 2 grand finals. They really, I think, kept it closer than a lot of people thought. And, hats off to them. They really did make it close in MENA. Instead of it being, that 2-team region, it's a 3-team region in all reality, where Rule 1 finishing first, Twisted Minds second, Falcons third. But you are correct. Rule 1 is headed to Boston. But secondly, we'll jump down to OCE. We have Ground Zero beating Power 4-2 coming from the upper bracket. We got a top 4 of Ground Zero, Power, Tsunami, and Pioneers. And with that win and a grand finals from Power, you have Ground Zero and Power headed to Boston. No Pioneers. They did not get enough points. They did not perform well enough to make it there. So we will not see Pioneers in Boston.
That's CJ's old team, right?
Kind of, but Renegades kind of disbanded, which was CJ's team. But it's Banana Head, Kaka and Fiber, I believe, is that team. No, that's incorrect. That's That's
Banana
Ground Zero.
Head,
That's
Hunter, Scrub.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, you're right. And then
Okay.
super lucky move from there to Ground Zero.
Okay. Okay. So I didn't know what I was talking about. You kind of did, and that's pretty much our podcast. Good job. So that's really interesting. I have not paid too close attention to Oceania in a bit, but it's going to be interesting to see Ground Zero and Power. I know that a lot of people are rooting for Pioneers and expected Pioneers to make it, but I'm always there for some mix-ups, especially in these lower regions, because usually they can get pretty predictable.
Yeah, I would tend to agree.
And then let's say, speaking of predictable and not predictable, let's move right into South America. So Sam had quite the weekend, I will tell you, just because we are looking at a team that is pretty much dominated by one or two names. Usually we're up here talking about Team Secret and Crew, but fast forward to the point here. Team Secret is not going to be going to Boston because we have Ninjas in Pajamas and Crew. They end up securing their Boston, and not only that, Crew loses early in the upper bracket. They get beat by a team called Timeless that had quite the significant run, to be honest, and that knocks them down into lower bracket. They come all the way back from lower bracket, and they get a reset against Ninjas in Pajamas in the grand final, and then win. So that not only is their bracket reset, but the team that had come from lower bracket, Crew, ended up winning. Absolutely fantastic series, absolutely fantastic run for them, and I'm excited to see them and Ninjas perform on the big stage. You have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, talk about a long day, right? So, I mean, they played 13 of a possible 14 matches in the grand final, a bracket reset, which we have not seen all season. Not, a bracket reset and win is extremely, extremely rare in RLCS and really quite in any, esport or sport that allows for a bracket reset. That's just so much time and, concentration that needs to be had. So hats off to Crew, hats off to Ninjas in Pajamas for their impressive run of form this split and for making major, and like you said, no Team Secret. So I would be very interested to see how Crew can perform after coming off of a rather unexpected result in the winter major where they performed a lot better than people thought. So I'm excited to see what they can do moving forward. And then last but certainly not least, moving on to APAC, Asia Pacific. The Gladiators get bracket reset, but win Game 7 in overtime of the bracket reset to beat Elevate, coming from the lower brackets. We have a top four of Gladiators, Elevate, the Patriots, and Paradigm. Elevate, with their result, are headed to Boston. And, a good showing from Gladiators to stay with it and to get that win in Game 7 overtime.
Absolutely. I don't have anything to add other than excited to see Elevate in Boston. I'm excited to see everybody in Boston. I'm excited to go to Boston.
It'll be a good time. I'm excited to be there with you and to enjoy hopefully some pretty damn good Rocket League.
Oh I cannot wait. It's gonna be a blast. I haven't been to an event since Worlds, and that was an absolute stunning event. So I'm excited to be able to do so again. Missing out on San Diego sucked, but I get Boston, so could be worse.
Yeah,
could be missing them all, but
the return of Laniel.
Yeah, the return of Laniel. I do him. Yeah, I mean, there's a new kid on the block, and we'll talk about that. I guess, at the appropriate time, which isn't really now because we're not doing our thoughts going into Boston episode yet.
Yeah.
But what we are talking about, for anybody who's still paying attention, is this weekend we got NA Spring Invitational coming on up, and let's get into it. So, teams that we're seeing in the NA Invitational, the teams that got invited, we're looking at Gen G, FaZe, G2, Space Station, Complexity, Version 1, Dignitas, Optic, NRG, Furia, Shopify, Koi, M80, Sup, Team Axel, and G League. So pretty much all the same names you've come to hear in every one of these. It's pretty much same, top 16 teams in NA. But what are your thoughts going into this? Who needs a big performance? Who's fighting for their life to get into Boston? And who's really just playing to play because they don't have a shot?
I mean, right now we currently have Complexity, Version 1, Space Station, Optic, and FaZe on a tiebreaker in our major spots. So the notable teams missing on that one, Gen G, Furia, G2, I mean, maybe NRG. But it's such a tight race in NA. We have 12 points separating 10th place Shopify with 22 from first place Complexity with 34.
So theoretically, Complexity, if they have a bad tournament and Shopify has the tournament of their lives, they can be knocked out.
Yes.
Well, maybe not Complexity, but Shopify could be in.
I mean, it's very possible that none of the current top 5 are in. It's really going to depend on results, and if these, if your G2s, your Furias, your Gen Gs, and then an NRG or a Shopify can put in a good performance. But the spring split does give the most points. You get 24 points for a win as opposed to 20. There's everything to play for these teams. So, I mean, if you look at like Complexity in version 1, right? In the spring open, version 1 goes out really fast. They get 6 points. Complexity does the same thing in the spring cup. So a lot of volatility from those rosters where Complexity goes win early out and version 1 goes early out to a win. So, I mean, I think most people would expect version 1 to continue their dominance that they showed in the Spring Cup, in the Spring Invitational, as they've only had more time to gel as a team to, dial in their play style. And with the addition of Laniel, I think personally that they will only improve. What are your thoughts on V1 going into this event?
V1 was one of my favorites back in Worlds. They had a way of just stirring up the crowd. I remember that they actually had people running through the crowd and handing out light up bracelets that said version 1 on them to just anybody who would take one. And I think somebody in our group even got a flag to wave, like a giant flag. Version 1 does great crowd work. I'm excited to see them. I hope they make it. What I am most curious about, not most curious, but what I have my eye on, laser focused right now, is the fact that 5th place spot, that tie for 5th place spot between FaZe and Gen G, that's the cutoff. And we have been seeing 4th Clan kind of making a reappearance. And so if we see FaZe from the Spring Open, they're not in. They will not be at Boston. If we see FaZe of Spring Cup, they're in. If we see Gen G of Spring Cup, Gen G's toast. So like the interaction between those two teams and whether or not they do well, especially since FaZe happens to be Gen G's kryptonite in most cases, I am so excited to see how this turns out for them.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at some of the points, right? If you have Furia that finish another top 8, and an early exit from Gen G or FaZe, and Furia passes them for that spot.
Absolutely.
It's just so close in NA right now, and the teams at the bottom here, Hey Bro, Team Axel, G League have been eliminated from Worlds contention, and from major contention, but it's just so tight in the rankings here that I'm extremely excited to see how things play out, as it will really have kind of a monumental impact on, the rankings for Worlds and also for, seeding going into it, whether you have to, compete in the wild card or if you can, just go directly to the World Championships proper. But also a little bit of some more lore. That version 1 flag that we got to wave is still in possession of the person who was waving it. And
as it's supposed to be.
And the best part, we actually got a chance. We ran into Daniel at the Winter Major. He was there, and this was the day after the news dropped that he was he was officially picked up by version 1. We got the V1 flag signed by Daniel.
Oh my, that's fantastic.
I believe, and I don't know who's gonna like refute this, but we may have the first piece of version 1 Daniel signed merch as a player of version 1.
Well, look at us making history already.
Oh yeah. It's certainly not going to be in terms of playing Rocket League, so it may as well be be something
collecting
like that.
signatures, yes.
Exactly.
Well, you know what time it is. It's prediction time. It's time where we show our audience exactly how intelligent, smart, expert we are in the field of prediction. And so I'm going to start it off. I'm going to tell you my top 4 for this, because they have so much on the line, because I have to have faith in apparently Jack and Gen G. I need to see Gen G and FaZe. They're in my top 4. V1, SSG. I think those 4 all have so much going on. I loved Complexity early in this split, but they did not look good in the cup. And, there has been a few extra weeks between the Cup and the Invitational, so maybe they've worked on their stuff. But I think that the FaZe and Gen G storyline is going to force both of them to be playing at their best. And I definitely think that we're going to see both of them place pretty high. I think Gen G is going to go a little bit further than FaZe this time. But overall, I have version 1 winning. What do you think?
I'm gonna go a little bit off the board here. Change it up from what you have, and I have.
What else is new?
Yeah, I know. But like you, I have version 1 and Space Station both making top 4s. I think that is Space Station has been extremely consistent. I think that their results have showed for themselves. They've improved a little bit every time. They've looked good. They've looked consistent, and I think that will continue. I think version 1 looked too dominant last regional to discount them in any way, shape, or form. So I have them in my top 4. I also have them winning, similar to you do. But then my second top 4 are a little bit different than yours. I have Complexity making a resurgence and showing why they won the first regional in NA. I think that they're a good team. I think that they had a bad outing, and I think that they will correct that. And Dark Horse, I still like to believe in the team. I still like to believe in the knapsack. I have G2 taking a top 4 and securing themselves a spot in Boston. So, that leaves FaZe and Gen G and Optic out of the top 4, maybe for 6th through 8th, or 4th through 8th, something like that. And so I am intrigued to see what happens. I'd love to see G2 make another major run, but they're gonna need a better performance than they've been putting in recently. So excited to see what happens.
It's an exciting time. Well, with the predictions out of the way, this is where we're going to have to leave you. Our dear, lovely fans and followers and listeners, thank you all so much for listening. Please remember, follow us on Twitter, Insta, join our Discord, rate us wherever you listen to your podcast. It really helps. It gives us little happy feelies in our tumblies when we wake up and we see that people have liked us, because this gives me all the validation for me to continue doing this every day, because I need validation, because I'm a broken man. Also, sorry, went off on a tangent there. All those links and more, they can be found on our website. It is www.boostoverball.com. And from everyone's favorite pair of Grand Plats to you, remember to always choose Boost over Ball.
Thank you for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website, www.boostoverball.com, and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts.